Rev up your engines!
Alright, here we go about Honda and their oil dilution problems with some of their GDI turbocharged four-cylinder engines. A settlement has gotten preliminary approval, and if you ask me, it's kind of a crappy settlement. The problem is, with the GDI high-pressure fuel injection system and turbochargers, these 1.5-liter Dream engines that they use in a bunch of Hondas get a problem that the oil gets diluted with gasoline that somehow gets by the piston rings. Oil with gasoline in it can wear out the timing chain, the cam bearings, the crank bearings, do a lot of damage over time, and the owners are complaining about this. Now, the class action suit itself says that Honda should, quoting them, repair, recall, and/or replace the vehicles because it can't be used for the purpose of having safe, reliable transportation. Well, Honda countered that. For some reason, 19 states are applying it to for a product update, but the other states don't. This just gets me about law, the absurdity of these things. If they sell them all over the country, they should be forced to do it all over the country. But they were sued in certain states, so only in those states is Honda going to do something about it as it stands now. Honda says they're going to extend the warranty until 6 years after the original sales. They're extending it to 6 years. If you have proof that you had your vehicle towed and worked on, they're going to reimburse it, but only up to the date of the settlement. Anything after that, they're not, so that to me is kind of absurd. And as legal stuff gets involved, it starts to get patently absurd. You know, they're kind of semi-admitting they screwed up, but not really. And then Honda's going to pay up to $250 for the analysis of this stuff. Well, what you really wanted is fixed, though. Here's the real gist of this problem. And I see it all the time with various manufacturers. They're going to give a warranty. They're going to fix it. If it has to do with oil dilution problems, your engine goes out, throws a rod, whatever. It's up to the dealers themselves to say whether you're covered or not. I'll give a perfect analogy. The other day, I had a customer with one of those Fiestas, dual clutch transmission that Ford settled the thing and said that, oh, they're going to buy back some of them and la-di-da, pay for any fixes that were done and cover the problems. Ha! Because I had a customer 2 weeks ago, brought me one of those. Dual clutch transmission was going out. I said, hey, take it to the Ford dealer. Tell him Scotty sent you. So he did. They looked at it and they said, nah, it's got too many miles on it. It's past our warranty. And even though Ford said, oh, they're going to buy him back for money and stuff, they didn't offer him any money to buy it back. And they said if he wanted to fix it, he'd have to pay them to fix the transmission. All the stuff you read about, oh, they're going to buy back the cars. Wait till you live in the real world and you take it to one of those dealers and see if they're going to buy it back. Good luck. Same thing with this oil dilution problem. I had a customer with one, was having problems, took it in. They said, well, we're not fixing it. That's not our fault. That didn't cause it. You know, it's so absurd that this legal nonsense gets involved in a system. Oh, the lawyer's getting paid. As an example, in the first case against Honda, the lawyers themselves wanted $850,000 legal fee that Honda's going to have to pay for. This is the fee for the plaintiffs that were suing them. So, you know, it gets to a point of absurdity. And I mean, to me, the ultimate one was the Ford one with my customer, where I read about, oh, they're going to buy the cars back. Ha! Take it in and see if they'll buy yours back. They got so much fine print, and it's all at the discretion of the dealer. Good luck getting any money out of them. Well, here we go again. Another company changing their logo. I mean, you'd think that the logo had to do with how the cars are made. It's Volkswagen now. You can check out their new logo. There it is, up there. Check it out. Rather than function, they're going for just the form. What does it look like? I tell people don't buy late model Volkswagens. Their quality control's garbage. They're high tech and they break. They cost a fortune to fix. And they deliberately have software that you got to be a trained Volkswagen tech to work on. It's different than all the other companies. They make it that way just so you often have to take it to the Volkswagen dealer to get the thing fixed. But, you know, they're all excited about their new logo that they put on the cars. Why not make them better, you know? Instead of changing the logos. But they're like sheep, these companies. You know? One goes by and they all follow in line. Oh, they made a new logo. Now we have to make a new logo. Hey, how about making better cars? Why don't we settle on that? Instead of just the picture that's on it, make a better car. Who cares what logo it has on it? Make the cars better. Just don't change the logo. Come on now. Phil says, hey, Scotty, I got a 2010 Highlander I bought used. The engine was wrecked by the previous owner, and I put in the salvage engine, and now it's got the code PO441. Now, the original engine said 1AR, and this one says 2AR. Hell, Well, help, you should have asked me before you did that. I wouldn't have even tried that. You're taking an older 2010. The 1AR engine is a different engine than the 2AR engine. There are all kinds of software upgrades, sensor upgrades, wiring system upgrades. You can't take the one engine and just throw it in the other. It doesn't work that way with modern cars. If you can find a guy who's willing to work on it to try to figure out why it's saying that it's got that code. Maybe he can find something in a junkyard like a part from the later model engine and replace it with the one from yours, because you swapped a lot of parts, and a lot of the parts on the old one aren't going to commit with the software of the new one. You might have to change a whole bunch of parts. Vacuum lines. You've created a rat's nest, which is one reason I tell people never, ever, in any new cars, replace an engine or a transmission with one from a much newer car. You think, oh, well, that's better. Well, it may be better, but it has better softwares and sensors. And you may never get it to work right in that car. It may need a different computer. And of course, a new computer isn't going to work right with a lot of the old sensors on your car with the transmission, because the newer engine also had a newer transmission and the computer has to control both. So you made a big mistake putting that other engine. You should have talked to a mechanic and say, hey, should I put this in there? And they would have said, no, don't do that. Jerry B says, Scotty, what do you think of the 96 Geo Metro? My mom owned one when I was younger. I've always liked it, but it got wrecked by a drunk driver. They were an oddball car. Now, the Geo Prisms, those were just pretty much Toyota Corolla copyrights. Are made in Fremont, California, Freeport, wherever, someplace in California. When GM and Toyota deal, it fell apart later, and those are excellent cars. The Metros were a different deal. They had those goofy little 3-cylinder engines. You know, they were okay. If you took care of the vehicle, it was a standard transmission, changed the oil a lot, it could be a decent knock-around, run-around car. Prisms are so much better. The Corollas are so much better cars out there for the money. But some people liked them as cheap little knock-around cars, and they were okay for that. I mean, they were fun, okay cars if you get a cheap one used, but they never held the test of time for most people. Toyota Honda 1999 says, Scotty, I got a 99 Honda Civic EX Coupe, manual tranny, 148,000 miles, no accidents. When I go about 50, the steering wheel checks. What should I do if balancing doesn't fix it? All right, of course, first get your tires balanced. It can be as simple as the tires are balanced, or have them checked, maybe a rim's bent. That's an old one, 99's probably got plain old steel wheels. They'll hit bumps, they'll bend. You can actually hammer them back around again, but have that checked first. If it's not that, being an old Civic, check the tie rods. Jack it up when you pull it like this, it goes clunk, clunk, you see the tie rods worn, replace the tie rods. That's generally what happens. The ball joints can wear out too. Then you grab them the other way, noon and 6. And if it clunks when you jack it up, clunk, then the ball joints worn. Pretty simple stuff on an old car like that. They're not complicated like, say, a BMW or a Porsche that is a trick racing suspension. That's a pretty basic thing that's easy to figure out on a Civic. Golden Boy's lost, it says. I got a 2011 Hyundai Elantra. Check engine lights on. It says P0038, oxygen sensor heater circuit. The way they work is, when you start a car up, there is electricity that goes to your oxygen sensor that heats them up. Kind of like a little hairdryer. A little electric, and it heats them up because they only work efficiently when they're hot. So that makes your car pollute less when startup, when it's ice cold. Once you drive the car, it heats up from the heat of the exhaust, but this starts it up. Those things are notorious for burning out. Now, theoretically, it can be a short in the computer circuit that drives it, in the wiring that goes from the computer to the sensor, or in the sensor itself. But every single one that I ever fixed on those, I just replaced the oxygen sensor, plugged it in, and it fixed all the problems. But do, of course, go under there and look, because if you hit a rock or something, or a tree branch got stuck under there, it could break the wires, and the wires are broken. The heating won't work inside the oxygen sensor, but it's almost always a bad oxygen sensor. Just replace it, and odds are it's going to fix it. Well, the old pandemic, turns out that it's doing something that who would have even thought people would bother with, but they do. A team exploited the pandemic by setting a new cross-country record of that crazy New York to LA Cannonball Express record. It's now 26 hours and 38 minutes, breaking a record that was set in November by more than 45 minutes. Well, use your head. There's less people on the road now. It only makes sense. This is all illegal because they're definitely driving over the speed limit. They were driving a white 2019 Audi A8 sedan. Well, you know, it had to be a late model one because if it was too old, it would have broken down. But they are very fast when they're new and they just start using them. But if you think about it, this is bad timing. People are all hunkered down at home, and these clowns are racing around in their Audi to set a new LA to New York Cannonball speed speed record. I mean, now, it would be one thing is if they were taking on some kind of sponsors and donated it to hospitals or fire departments or EMS, whatever. But hey, you know, kind of a bad time for you guys to be screwing around with something as dumb as the fastest record from LA to New York in these times. So shame on you.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.